Three, two, one, Larry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Big Idea podcast. You know, we've had a lot of really interesting, fun guests, and I don't want to blow up his ego, but at this point,
But I'm not that one.
we probably have the single most important guest we've had. Why? Because as important as it is to use Larry Feldman for recruiting and training, and Mike for AI, and Gary Silman for F&I, you can't do any of it if you're out of business. And right now, the FTC is coming after dealers harder than they ever have. And unfortunately, a lot of these dealers think, oh, I have insurance. Yeah, just enough to cover nothing. So we've had the pleasure, and we actually rearranged some people. Thank you for anybody we rearranged to get Tom Kline on, because he is the single best guy to keep you safe and to make sure you have the proper coverage and that you're out of trouble. So without further ado, as timely as possible, Tom Kline, tell us how to tuck the octopus and tell us what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why dealers should not waste a whole lot of time in dialing your phone.
Yeah. So thanks, of course, guys, for having me. Always fun to be with you. At the beginning, Larry, I thought you were describing someone else because that couldn't possibly be me, you know. For those who don't know, the FTC sent warning letters out to 97 dealer groups saying that their advertising is deceptive. And there's a lot of reasons why advertising can be deceptive. Not 5 minutes ago, my wife and I are looking at a car, and we clicked on an ad that showed the car for $48,000. And when we got to the dealer's website, as soon as we clicked it, it showed $52,000. So, you know,
ouch. Self-sabotage. It's just unbelievable.
There's a lot of it out there. Some of it's intentional and some of it isn't. Some of it is unintentional. They're good dealers who have unintentional problems.
Wait a minute. So we're clear. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, they still fine you. You can tell a state trooper.
Yeah, they're not bashful.
You can tell a state trooper that you didn't realize what the speed limit was, and he's going to tell you ignorance is no excuse.
And it's just so we're all clear, it's $53,088 per occurrence. Occurrence.
Tom,
one thing, Gary, and just so that you know that the FTC is serious about it, there is at this very moment still a pending case against a former VP of a company that they are pursuing $216 million. If you do the math very quickly, it's about 4,000 deals at $53,000. $216 million. So the numbers are incredible. And the exposure is huge. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. You've been doing this for a while. I've been paralleling it for a long time myself. And for the audience that's watching today, and we hope that this can get broadcasted throughout many places, is we don't want to sit here for a half an hour telling you what you're doing wrong. You know what you should be doing and what you're not doing. And now it's really the consumer is now driving the behavior. Is that if you're not going to do it fair, concise, they're going to abandon you. So thank you for coming on and talking about it, because it's time, everybody. I mean, we don't want to be, the ones just saying Chicken Little. I mean, this is you're seeing the results now, and it's putting good dealers out of business. So, it's simple stuff. It's not complex. And so please continue to spell out the basics, because it's the basics that everybody has to do to make sure they don't put themselves in bad positions. So, I mean, I'm thrilled to have you on here, Tom. There's going to be a lot of discussions about this, but we want dealers to be safe. We want dealers to operate in an honest, ethical manner. and impact your local community. The pathways wide open for consumers. They're looking for that dealer that's going to do it. And you see them transformation happening in a lot of stores, which is wonderful because we've been living in that, like the slack tide for a long time. So,
this really goes back to the golden rule, and dealers should consider shopping their own websites to see what the experience is like. It's not just dealerships that are getting hit here. The FTC has gone after Express Scripts in the pharmaceutical business. Of course, Live Nation. Who doesn't love to hate Live Nation, right? I mean, I love at the end when I get a convenience fee. I love my convenience fee, right, for 15% or whatever it is of the ticket price, where you get nothing. It's nothing convenient. Yeah. It's certainly not convenient. The app sucks. You don't care about it. I mean, and so that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of transparency.
It's you know what? We have the wrong guest on. We should have the guy that wrote 1984, because if that's not doublespeak, you get charged a convenience fee for being inconvenient.
Right.
Well,
it's crazy.
Interesting how we got to this point, but that's a huge topic that's being talked about right now. Is that the one of the things, and I know you're going to clarify this, is your ads. And if you're not putting in your doc fee and you're not putting everything, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. So Tom, but that's a huge part of what just transpired.
That's right. Well, let's go back a little further. I have a little bit of inside information, and you know, the dealers, and I can't confirm this, but I think the dealers who got letters were those dealers who had the most customer complaints at the Federal Trade Commission and at the AG level. My understanding is that the FTC reached out to the AGs, again, unconfirmed. I like to be clear about what I absolutely know and what I don't. This is unconfirmed. And they reached out to the AGs and said, hey, who are your top dealership problems, and what kind of problems are you hearing about? And then the AGs responded, and 97 dealership groups later. And that's really as simple as it is. And as I've espoused my whole career, you have to take care of your customer problems or you will have regulatory problems. You have to take care of, similarly, you have to take care of your employee problems in the same way. I'm not saying that you have to roll over and give everybody everything they want. There's certainly a way to do it properly and a way to resolve customer problems and make sure that you don't have regulatory issues by resolving them first. And the first is you can't have deceptive ads. And we can talk for hours about what deceptive ads are, but the FTC did outline 6 different ways that they were particularly looking at it, and I don't know that we really have time during the broadcast to go through all 6, but it's readily available on the internet.
As they say years ago, you can't lie, steal, and cheat. And if you do that, you're going to get in trouble. So don't lie, steal, or cheat.
And as that great used car manager Abe Lincoln said, you can't fool all the people all the time.
Well, that's like another quote I'm taking as a former bartender. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't swear. God damn it, I left my cigarettes in the bar.
Of course.
It's that insane.
Of course.
All right, so we're a little unhinged today, but that's okay. That's what makes the show fun. Tom, what do you see as primary problems? For instance, if somebody said to me, Larry, well, what do you see as dealers' big problems? I would say, well, lack of service retention, salespeople not properly being trained, and not working on the customers that are the lowest hanging fruit, namely repeat referral and, the orphan owners. What do you see as the couple? Like, if it was 2 years ago when I first met you, we talked about, I go into dealerships all over the country and I still see licenses laying on desks. And you couldn't have a dumber thing to do because it's such an easy red flag, or not having, the proper things on the window, whether it's a warranty or not. What are you seeing these days? 1, 2, or 3 things that just make, man, the hair on the back of your neck stick up and say, boy, I'm glad I'm here to help this dealer.
Yeah. So number one, on complaints on the internet, whether it's on Google, Facebook, or I have a list of 36. If anybody's interested in getting that list, just call me or send me an email, and I'll be glad to just give you the list of where you should check. And the following message on those sites. And after the customer has said, here's all the ways I got screwed and why I'm unhappy. And underneath that, after they've listed it and they've spent the half an hour writing all the ways, the comment underneath is, Dear Mr. Customer, thank you so much for contacting ABC Motors. If we strive to help you in every way. Please let us know if we failed. And that's it. And
After they just listed 36 things, it's the inconvenience and the convenience fee. Listen,
well, I mean, it's brain dead. They're brain dead. They have a brain dead process, right?
It's because you said it earlier. They don't look at their own website. They don't realize that there's cars with snow on them and it's July. They don't realize how many links are broken. And one of the reasons, Tom, I know why you're so busy, because dealers will go out of business if they don't call you. The reason I'll never go out of business is what's failing in our planet, and particularly our industry, is communication. Because if you had somebody other than an AI bot that called every customer and said, how are you? Well, I did have a question or a complaint. So much of this stuff could be resolved. Because I know when I'm on hold for 10 seconds, I'm cool. But if I don't get anybody to talk to me for 2 days, I get pretty irritated even over a minor thing.
Right, 100%. And so what should happen is, without delving on this, is somebody at the dealership should pick up the phone, call that person, bring them in, fix the problem. Then ask the customer to, and I use this word very specifically, to update their review. Would you please, now that we've helped you, would you please mind updating it? If you ask them to change it, they're going to get pissed. Because they'll think the whole thing was a manipulation. And so that's number one. Number two is, I was shopping a website with one of my dealers this week. We looked at their competitor. I think they had a conquest rebate stacked with a first-time buyer rebate.
I always love that.
That's one of my favorites, right? So if you trade in your car that's a whatever, we're also going to give you a first-time buyer's rebate. Of course, that'll never happen. My other favorite one from this week was, I don't remember what kind of car it was. It was a $60,000 car, and in the disclosure, it showed customer cash down $5,000. And it showed the sale price as $50,000 after they stacked all this stuff. So it was $60,000, but if you put $5,000 down, it's only $50,000, right?
Which doesn't change the sale price. It changes how you're getting to a number you could. Again, I don't think you're ever going to be out of business, my brother, because not only are you the best in your field, but I always go back to this quote. It makes Larkin happy. They asked the great genius Einstein, what's the difference between genius and stupidity? And he said, genius has its limits. There is no cap on stupidity.
So those are good ones. I hope I'm answering your question, Gary.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, we're nailing it on just a simple lack of communication. And the dealers, they need to have somebody in their organization that picks up the phone to call the upset customer, as opposed to it just, being brushed aside and not handled at all. And they create their own problems. And, compliance today and marketing today, the dealers that are winning and which is great, are the ones rising to the top. The ones that are making sure that their ads are done correctly. The ones that are making sure that the customer complaints are being followed up in the leads. And right now, for what we are witnessing, there's so much opportunity for dealers to do it right and to win the market. And it's just being honest, ethical, nice, and That's what they got to just stop doing this stuff. I don't know how they continue year after year is to know that they're doing things wrong and they continue to do it anyways.
Well, the reason, Gary, is if you have a dog and you point, your dog never looks where you're pointing, he looks at your finger. Think about the futility of CSI. We will pay you as a salesman if your CSI is above the national average, and the dealership will get their money from the manufacturer if they're above. Shouldn't CSI be perfunctory in the sense that you always want to contact your customers and keep them happy so you can ask them for repeat referral business? So if we're that misguided that the only way we look to improve CSI is so we'll get paid from the factory, when really we should be worried about getting paid by our customers and keeping them happy. Correct, Tom?
Right. Well, I mean, this really is, I mean, the biggest issue here is that the dealers are thinking is, how can I maintain my gross and still be compliant? What can I do to maintain gross and still be compliant? And there's lots of things that are going to happen in that realm, and there are lots yet to be discovered. And I think that the smart dealers, that's the question they're asking themselves right now. And they're also looking to their local markets to see who's doing what on, and you don't want to be the first. If you're most worried about gross, you're not going to be the first one in your area to be compliant, because you'll price yourself out, right, of everybody else, because the new guidelines say that if you have a dock fee or a processing fee, it has to be included in the advertised price. So there's going to be some people will run in and do it. Some people will wait. Some people won't do it at all. And so, you'll just, you have to, there is a kind of fine line as to when you're going to have to phase this in, because there's only a few states, like Georgia is one of the states, where you have to already advertise the processing fee or dock fee as a part of the advertised price. Now, the other realignment that dealers are going to have to think about is making sure that the advertised price on the website is the same price that's physically on the car. That's the same price the sales manager pencils. That's the same price that the BDC is giving when somebody says, how much is that vehicle? That's the same price when somebody calls in and says, how much is that car? They're getting the same price. One of the dealer groups the FTC is chewing on right now, the FTC did a survey of their customers and found out that 88% of those customers paid an average of $2,000 more than the advertised price on the website. So the FTC has the ability to scrape these prices from the website, and that's what they're doing. And they're comparing it to the sales data that they can easily get from the states, so they know how much sales tax you paid on the price. So when they show up, they'll already have it. They'll already have you in the bag, so to speak, because they will already scrape the prices from the websites and have seen that you have sold those vehicles for more than what the advertised price was.
For anybody that hears barking, Tom brings his own government watchdog with him wherever he goes.
That's
Tom,
actually
I got a quick question. For you. You going to say something, Gary?
I was going to say, it's the mailman. Luke's going to go, Tucker's going to get my mail. I get it in pieces.
So long as it
Mike.
bills. Quick question for you, Tom. We've talked before about how dealers can protect themselves on that first visit to an official is get a compliance officer or assign somebody to be a compliance officer. What percentage do you see any of them doing or pointing to a compliance officer?
And do we agree, Tom, that the compliance officer wouldn't be $216 million? You could probably get him for like $188 million. It'd be a little cheaper.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
It's Friday afternoon, so everybody's taking a deal because they want to know what they're doing Monday morning. So, Mike, it's a good question. And here's what I see is that there are certain, some of the larger dealer groups have compliance officers. And they may have a compliance officer and they may have 10 stores or 15 or 20. The question is who's doing the compliance auditing at all those stores? And is that information bubbling back to that compliance manager so he or she can take action based on what these audits are showing? If you don't have an audit component and a reporting component and a way to store this information so that if anybody comes in, you can say, wait, we do these audits once a month. Here's what they are. Here's what they show. We retrained. Here's how I retrained everybody. Here's the signature where we retrained them and they signed that they understood. If this guy's a bad apple, let me know, Mr. Regulator, and I'll fire him. But, to say that we're not trying to comply is silly because look at all this information. So I don't see that as frequently as I feel like I should. Does that answer your question?
I'm gonna jump in on from there. And Tom, you'll probably correct me on a few things, so I'm just gonna go back in 2003 when they came out with the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which was to protect the consumer's personal identifiable information. So that was the beginning of the Safeguards Rule Act. And when the FTC and the CFPB were very highly involved, they had a roadmap. And on the roadmap, it clearly said that every dealership needed to have a compliance officer. Well, just like everything else that went and came and went by, nobody got compliance officers. Nobody filled out anything. We used to go out, Universal Underwriters, with this stack of paperwork, and it would just say, hey, this is your safeguard process. Put your name on it, put your people's name on it, and fill it out. Well, now, over COVID, a lot of this got escalated because during COVID, there were so many complaints. And Tom, I shared some of that stuff with you with the CFPB. And so the complaints were the ones that kind of stimulated it and saying, this is out of hand. And so that's where it's now ratcheted up. And so the thing is for everybody who's been watching, listening to me and Tom and other people saying, this stuff's not going away. It's not going away. I mean, I've been on this pulpit since 2000, maybe even, I was Herb Chambers, 2000. We had a whole front page ad. Compliance is treating the customer with dignity and respect and making sure that their information is secure. And this is the stuff that dealers think it's an option. And today the government's saying it's not an option. They pass laws, and Tom, if you could please share what UDAP is and how UDAP falls into everything of all the things that everybody thinks that they're Teflon and that they're not going to get sued on a bank and they're not going to get here and they're not going to get there. UDAP was built for a big broad brush is for the government, the AG, and everybody is to prosecute. So I know I just went off on a little pulpit, but Tom, if you could talk about UDAP and tell it's not going away and it's not getting easier.
Yeah, so three things you mentioned, Gary. Number one, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. What's interesting about that is that the safeguarding of information and the push in 2022 and 2023 that everybody pushed toward, and then there was no auditing done. My belief is that when the FTC goes in to audit these deceptive ads and practices, they're going to say, oh, and by the way, let me see your Gramm-Leach-Bliley. Let me see why are there 9 different desks that have PII on them, and they're going to hammer people at the same time.
Right. It'll be those will be the laws on the books, and where are they? We're checking it now.
We're checking it now, and they're gonna check people who are going in on customer complaints anyway.
Right.
So
okay.
When they get hit, they're gonna get hit hard. So that was number
Tom,
one.
do everybody out here a favor. Tell them exactly what you do. I'm a
Sure.
dealer and I hire you. Tell me what you're going to bring to the table to keep
I'm
me
like
from getting in trouble.
I'm like a fractional compliance and risk consultant. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to determine where your soft underbelly is, where you're exposed, what items you're not complying with, whether you have insurance for those things, and do you have enough limits, and are you overpaying for your insurance, and do you have a lot of claims, and where are the claims coming from, and could we put any policies and procedures in to stop the claims? So it's kind of from the entire dealership perspective. And remember, I'm a former dealer or reformed dealer. You can decide which. For 30 years, so I've sat. I understand I understand what's important and what's not. So that's what I do. Is I go in and help dealers sleep better at night. And that's my goal. So getting back to Gary's thing, so GLBA is number one. Number two, remember that the way that the FTC is going to come after you is the FTC Act, which was passed, I believe it was 1914. 1914. So it's well over 100 years old. And back then they said, don't be deceptive. Now we have the internet and other things they didn't have in 1914, and it's still the same act. That's still what we're working from. And number three, to answer your question about UDAP, UDAP stands for Unfair Deceptive Acts and Practices. And what that means is that any time that a plaintiff attorney or attorney general can allege that you're being deceptive, it hooks in a different set of laws, whether that's federal or state, that generally allows the plaintiff's lawyers to ask for either treble damages, which is damages times 3, however they can prove it, and or punitive damages. And the word punitive damages comes from the word punish, right? So how the lawyer proves that you should be punished for your behavior, and that punishment is a monetary fine. And so by having a lawyer express or file a claim under UDAP, they're doing that. Now, a lot of insurance policies, Gary, do not cover those deceptive acts and practices. And the lawyers know this, and they allege it, number one, because they can get more money, but number two, it puts pressure on the dealer because when they don't have insurance that will cover some of these things, they can create more leverage and bump the dealer for more money. So that's really
deeper,
so
deeper pockets.
Deeper pockets.
And thank you. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces, and for the dealers today, it's technology should be the way that you can learn to protect your customers' information and do a much better job. And now it's easy for them to, as you said, the feds, they know what they're looking for. And now that everything is more digital, it's going to be easier accessibility. And what a mess. What a mess.
Listen, it's really simple. If you've got a dealership and you want to stay in business, you need to be compliant. You need to know what kind of insurance you have, what kind of insurance you need, and your weak points. Tom, if you'd be kind enough, because we like to wrap up kind of quickly so more views, would you also tell people about your book? Because I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it would be eye-opening for a lot of, and obviously anybody that needs to reach him, the stuff scrolling at the bottom, not only is he an incredibly good guy, if you don't think you need him now, boy, I sure hate you to fall into that old commercial, pay me now or pay me later. Tom?
So my book is called Tuck the Octopus. There it is. And the analogy here is that running a dealership feels like trying to tuck an octopus into bed, but the tentacles keep flopping all over the place. And my job as a compliance and risk guy is how do we tuck those tentacles in? And so the book draws on my experience and in telling stories and showing examples and trying to keep it light and lively in short chapters in how you can do that at your store. So it's a different way of thinking. It's the other side of sell, 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 which is the entrepreneurial spirit that dealers certainly have in spades. It's how to protect yourself and how you can tuck the tentacles in at your dealership, and it's very much a self-guided thing. If you follow the things in the book, then you'll be in much better shape, I feel like, than if you're new to this particular topic.
Excellent. I can't urge people enough to reach out to Tom. Again, just so we're clear, everybody on the show is a friend of his, but he's truly the best at what he does, and every dealer needs him at this point. Gar, Mike, any last thoughts? I think we did everybody a favor by letting him hear what Tom does and how he can help them. Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
Shout out to Abdul. Thank you for commenting. We're trying to, do the comments live as we go. So thanks, Abdul, and thank you, Tom. Ben, you're the best at what you do, bar none.
Thank you.
And Tom, thank you, because I know that sometimes when I talk to dealers, they think I'm talking like Charlie Brown. So when I get nice, smart guys like you, we're talking from the same book. And, there's one way of doing it. It's doing it right. You want to be an aggressive dealer? Be an aggressive dealer. Just document and make sure everybody knows what's going on and manage your business. And so I appreciate having the conversation, because somebody finally can understand what I'm talking about with compliance, where they say, oh, what's that stuff? Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Tom, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll get you back on later so you can give us an update. Hopefully a whole lot of people will understand the last thing a referee says with two boxers. After he says, obey my commands, he says, protect yourself at all times.
That's right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Good seeing everybody.